How's it going, guys? Back in the shed tonight. Had my Africa now for probably just a little over a month. I'm due for the first oil change. It says to do the first oil change at around 1,000 kilometers. I think I'm just under that now, maybe 980, something like that. So I'm gonna do the first oil change. Gotta try to make this one not too long, but first you want to do is get the manual out and just make sure that you're familiar with how much oil it needs. And so we'll get that out right now. So on the Africa, there's a little lock right back here. Your regular key fits in there. That will pop your seat. And under your seat, right there is your owner's manual. Hopefully if you're due for an oil change, you've already known where the manual is and you've already read it. It's really good to read it. You guys, you get lots of good information. Alright, so on page 90 of your owner's manual, you'll find your maintenance schedule. You want to find engine oil. R means replace. Engine oil filters right under it, and then your clutch oil filter if you have a dual clutch transmission, which I don't. So I don't have to worry about that one. So replace your engine oil filter and your engine oil at 1 times 1,000 kilometers, so 1,000 kilometers or 600 miles. And that's just for your brake and oil, and then it's changing your oil usually around every 8,000 kilometers after that. And you should really pay attention to this for your maintenance schedule so you get all the correct maintenance done to your machine. Alright, so when you're changing the engine oil and the engine oil filter, it's going to be 4.2 US quarts or 4 liters. And if you have the Adventure Sport, or no, sorry, not the Adventure Sport, but if you have the dual clutch, the automatic one, it's going to be 4.4 and 4.2 liters. So it's a little bit more oil if you have the automatic. So mine's exactly 4 liters. And I'll be changing the oil filter too. Alright, so now you're looking underneath at the skid plate. You're going to have 2 Allen bolts here. So you need to loosen those up. I already went and broke the pressure off them. So just a heads up that the first time you take these off, they're going to be a little bit hard. My guess is because they probably have a little bit of never sees or something on there. Although I don't see anything. It's not even a lock washer. I might pick up some never sees tomorrow, and when I come home I'll put a little bit of never sees on these bolts. Oh, I've been saying never sees. I meant a little bit of Loctite. Sorry. Just put a little bit of Loctite so the bolts don't come loose. Alright, so after that you have one more Allen bolt to loosen up. It's here right by, there we go. It's right by your gear shifter here. You guys heard the little snap. That's means she was locked in pretty good. That's what you want. You don't want your skid plate coming loose. Inspector Wendell's back, so I just gotta go unhook it from the other side. Now that you have the skid plate off, you're gonna want to start your bike, let it come up to temperature, let it run for 3-4 minutes, let the oil warm up a bit. That way it's easier when you go to drain it. Alright, forgot to mention, obviously, if you're in a small space like I am, make sure you keep the door open for lots of breeze. You don't want to be breathing in the old carbon dioxide. The bike came up to temp, let it run for about 3 minutes or so. I just shut it off, letting it cool down a bit before I go drain the oil. Give it 1 or 2 minutes. That way you don't burn your hand. Alright, so you got 2 12mm bolts underneath. One is up here towards the front, and the other one is over here, kind of in a little bit of an awkward spot here. kind of right underneath the motor, but by the foot peg. I'll take this one off first. It's the easy one. It helps if you have those little rubber gloves, which I do have, but I don't have them on right now. There you go. It's got a little crush washer on there too. And looking at the color of the oil, it's not too bad. And of course, when you're doing oil changes, it's always nice to have a rag close by. Alright, so I got the second one loosened up there, same as the first. There we go. A little bit on my hands, it's not too hot because we let it cool down a bit. So when you're draining the oil out, you want your bike to be as center as possible. I don't have a center stand yet, but I will get one in the future. Right now I just have about a 2-inch block underneath my kickstand, which makes it a little more straight. And if you want, you can just lean it straight up and down like this. And you'll see a little bit more come out. So I'm going to leave it like this, maybe for a few minutes till I hear it stop draining oil. Alright, so as it's draining oil, you can open the filler tube there for the oil. Helps it drain a little bit better. Alright, so we got all the oil drained out of her. I put it as straight as I could. Let it drain. When I thought it stopped, I would take the bike, maybe lean it to this side. I'd hear a little bit more run out. When that stopped, just go back. Kind of went back and forth a few times till it didn't stop. Cleaned up the bolts for the drain plugs, installed new crush washers, cleaned up in and around where the oil drains out, installed the bolts back in for the drain plug, torqued those down. I would give you the torque specs, but I want you guys to go read your owner's manual. I think too many people are online asking questions when the easy answer is right in their owner's manual that they have for their machine, whether it be four-wheeler or motorcycle. So look in your owner's manual and it'll tell you exactly how to do all this stuff. Torque it down to the right specs, and now we just have to get the oil filter off. Alright, I was just trying to get my oil filter off. They put it on really tight, whoever assembled it. It was the same thing with my Grizzly. I had a real hard time getting it off. I usually like to use, like, you know, kind of the old school, you know, the crank ones. That's what I use on my truck. I love these ones, but it was just the way it was in there. It was really hard. I couldn't get any real good torque. But I have one of those cap ones that just goes over the end and you hook it onto a socket, and usually they work really good too. The one I have is one of the early models one. It is metal, but sometimes it'll pop off. And that's what it was doing to me because it was on so tight. So a little trick you can do is you take either a rag, or I use one of those blue towels you guys can see in the video. Right there. Use one of those, put it over, then put the cap over. And it makes it that it just holds just enough, and I was able to loosen it off. So I'll show you guys that now. Alright, so as you guys can see, I used the blue towel with the cap that goes over my oil filter. Still on there pretty tight. And I find it just gives it just an extra grip. Just enough to break that seal, and you can see the oil starting to leak out there now. Try not to get oil everywhere. But I'll go in with a rag and clean up all around there after anyway. Alright guys, got the filter off and cleaned up. Had to clean up a little bit. I hate working in when it's real messy, so had to put a few things away. Got the genuine Honda oil filter. These ones they they don't come with any grease. They don't come pre-greased. For the O-ring right here goes around the seal. So usually I'll just pour a little bit of the new oil into the cap of the jug I'm going to use. Dip your finger in it. Just run it around. It doesn't need to be a lot. Just enough to wet the O-ring. We'll get that on. Alright, so I just went with the rag and cleaned up around where the O-ring is going to seat. On. So the proper torque for that too will also be in your owner's manual, so read up and see what the proper torque is. Alright, so like the owner's manual says, if you're changing, if you have the manual transmission, not the automatic, you need 4 liters if you're changing with the filter. And if you have an automatic, it's like 4.2 liters, but read your manual. So I have 2 jugs. This one, I don't know why. I know why, because it's 1 US gallon exactly, which only is 3.785 Canadian liters. So I need 4, so this is just shy of 4 liters. So I'll need that whole jug, plus just a little bit out of this one. Alright, so we got the whole jug in there now. Like I said, I need 4 liters. This is 3.785 liters, or exactly 1 US gallon. So if I need 4 liters, that means I need 215 milliliters out of this. And the numbers are here on the side, so. Alright. So to check the oil, you want to get your bike straight. And of course, this is all in your manual. Clean your dipstick off. And then when you put it in, put it all the way in, but then don't screw it at all. I'll try to put that as straight as I can. Put the dipstick in all the way, don't screw it. Whoop, pull her back out. And we're right at the upper limit. So now I'm just going to start the bike, let it idle for a few minutes, and then turn it off, let it cool down, and I'll recheck it. Let it run for a bit, let it cool down, recheck the oil. It's right at the perfect amount. Yeah. So all that's left now is just got to get the skid plate back on. Alright guys, that's it. The oil's changed. That was my break-in oil that I just changed out, and it's the first time I've changed the oil on my Africa Twin, so I didn't find it too bad other than the oil filter was on tight. But better too tight than too loose. But yeah, hopefully it wasn't too painless for you, and hopefully you learned something. Thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. Come here, boy. Past Wendell's bedtime. Perfect timing.